Ramu had cast me in a movie called Ek, because I was to play the super villain with the whole industry on one side. I said, is it not happening or not? And he said, no, but you don't do any other movie. I said that, how will I pay my bills? He said, how much is your expense a month? और मैंने बड़ा चढ़ा के बोला था 35,000 रुपए. तो बोले डन. मैं कहा यार 50 मांग लेता. When you did the critique of my movie, which I reluctantly read, I've switched off everything. I said, this is the movie I wanted to make. I don't want to hear anybody's opinion. Because opinions and everybody has.
Thank you very much.
A lot of people just labeled it as a propaganda film. Who loses 30 kilos, sells his house to make a propaganda film?
I don't think propaganda film is a pejorative. I don't think it's an insult. You've been very close to people who've been very good at it. For instance, I'll give you an example of, say, Salman Khan, right? Apparently you're also good friends. What do you make of him? Like a stardom of that many years, clearly knows how to play show business, right?
Yeah, he's very intelligent, he's very creative, and I think a bit isolated also now.
Hello and welcome to Sit with Hitlist. My name is Mayank Shekhar. With me is actor Randeep Hooda in a completely unscripted conversation. Randeep, thank you so much for joining us.
You're most welcome, brother. It's a pleasure to be here, and I like it unscripted better because I'm dealing with scripts anyway.
Yeah, I know. And also, I introduced you as actor, but of course now you're also director, you're also a producer, also a writer. Also a married man. Randeep, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But what?
Never thought that'll happen.
I didn't think that would happen either. I'm going to bring that up at some point in this conversation for sure. But I think I'm going to start with the fact that before coming here, I realized we're shooting this on May 26th, and your film, your first Bollywood film, D, released on June 3rd in 2005. This is 2025. It's literally been 20 years, Randeep. So congratulations on that again.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not easy, to be around for that long?
To be around, to be relevant, and to still be kind of actor that directors look at कि इसने ये नहीं किया आज तक, ये कराते हैं. So that's a great pleasure to be around. And as the years pass, you become more and more grateful rather than entitled, as one is when one is young. So there's a great change that happens in you, and I think I'm in a best place that I've been ever in my life in terms of being comfortable with myself and, just not giving a shit anymore.
I don't think you gave a shit earlier either,
I didn't, but there was a phase when the not giving a shit was in everybody's face. And over time you realize you don't have to open people's eyes and spit in it. About your not give a shit. So you just don't give a shit.
Like the perception of you when you began as a Bollywood actor in at least, film circles was there's a guy with an attitude. And I don't necessarily mean attitude problem always, but just an attitude. Would that be correct to say?
Being where I'm from, being a Jat, even if you talk normally, it seems like attitude. And, सबके दो हाथ पैर हैं यही सोचते थे. हमने कभी सोचा नहीं भाई कि इसके 4 हाथ पैर हैं इसलिए ये वहाँ पे इसके भी 2 हाथ पैर हैं हमारे भी 2 हाथ पैर हैं तो हम भी वही हैं बस थोड़े से टाइम का फर्क है.
Right. And of course, before D, and the reason why I didn't mention that as a Bollywood debut would be Monsoon Wedding, right, Randeep? And that would be 2001, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That was the first time we saw you on screen.
We shot in 2000 and it released in 2001.
Right.
And at that time, the movie released on the same day, I think my play opened called Manto Ismat Hazir Hain in CPA or something.
Same day, huh?
Same day, I think. Yeah. And a lot of people who watched that movie came to watch the play and they could not put 2 and 2 together that it was the same guy. So that was one of the things that I started like kind of enjoying about my work, that, you have to create differences in your work and, try and not repeat yourself and try and, take on a challenge whenever is an opportunity. And
So 2001, Randeep, when your play opened in NCPA, were you in Bombay already or?
I was in Bombay already. I had met Nasir Bhai
during Monsoon Wedding.
During Monsoon Wedding.
Right.
And we won the Leone d'Oro at Venice Film Festival. And I happened to be there, and we were dancing and drinking and having a ball, and I came and sat on the side, and there was this American distributor who was there, who I met coincidentally again after I did Biba Boys with Deepa Mehta in Canada. And we were sitting there, and he said to me that, you were one of the few who were not acting in the movie. And I took that very badly.
Why?
If somebody says that to me today,
Yeah.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You
But
became that guy.
I didn't know shit from chocolate. I said, really? And I didn't tell anybody about it because I was so embarrassed about it. But then I went to Nasir Bhai and I said, I want to do plays. And I kind of made it a point that I will not expose myself as a, actor who doesn't act too long. So that's why it took from Monsoon Wedding to D, it took that many years because I didn't take on any work that was offered to me, and I really wanted to, learn my work, my craft, or whatever. And then also another reason was that Ramu had cast me in a movie called Ek,
Okay.
which was I was to play the super villain with the whole industry on one side. It was about a man who comes into Bombay and going to set off bombs, and the exodus.
The movie that never got made.
Never got made. So Ramu,
who are on the other side? Amitabh Bachchan.
yeah, they were all everybody. Ajay
Everyone.
Devgan, Sunil Shetty, Nasir Bhai, Amitabh Bachchan, and many other actors, popular actors at that time. And then he said, well, I said, it's not happening or not? And he said, no, but you don't do any other movie. I'll find a role and I'll launch you. So I was on a 3-year salary, like the studio system.
Shit, seriously.
Yeah, to not do any other work.
How much did he pay
doing
you?
Theatre. So he called me and I said that, how will I pay my bills? He said, how much is your expense a month? और मैंने बड़ा चढ़ा के बोला था 35,000 रुपए. तो बोले done. मैं कहा यार 50 मांग लेता. So very diligently every month, first of the month, I'll turn up. And Madhu Mentana was to also work there at that time. Parag Sanghvi was a partner in factory, and I used to go there, collect my check, and do nothing.
Like every month, without doing any work.
Without doing any work.
That is crazy. That has been your struggle. That is the best struggle story I've ever heard in my life.
My struggle was never to get work. It was always to get the kind of work that I would gel with.
Right.
My struggle has never been कि मुझे काम नहीं मिल रहा, मैं लाइनों में खड़ा हुआ हूँ. ऐसा कभी था ही नहीं. So
what did you do with Ramu that he was so impressed that he will pay you every month regardless of you doing any work or
The first thing I did was that Shimit Amin had come to me to be a part of a movie called Ab Tak Chappan.
Okay.
That rookie cop's role. And he told me the story. So he came to Prithvi, and I think Ramu also came and saw the play or whatever. And they called me, and I met him at that barista hota na, so abhi chai coffee.
Strugglers ka barista.
Strugglers ka barista. We met him there, and I said, well, I would rather do Nana Patekar's role.
That's the attitude, no? That only 20s can give you.
That attitude. And then finally, that movie I didn't do. And then I was summoned by Ramu. And he said, t-shirt utaro, and I took off my t-shirt.
T-shirt utaro?
And
आज के ज़माने में होगा तो मतलब stories बन जाएंगी
t-shirt but I always had a good physique, so I took off my t-shirt and I was like, hello, well, they're done. And so I talked to my girlfriend at that time, and then I said, this is what happened, and I sat there like this, So she really gave me hell. She said, wow, what are you doing? You should be polite, you should be humble, this, that, ये वो. तो रामू ने अगले दिन फिर मुझे फोटोज लेके बुलाया कभी. Get some pictures of yours. तो उस दिन जाके मैं ऐसे बैठ गया, हाँ सर, ये मेरी फोटो, yes sir. So he kept looking at me and he said, I liked you better last time. Immediately I went, acha, okay, so what is the role?
But that's Ramu for you, right? He unleashed a whole, like galaxy of people who had attitude, who were chillers, and then he's just making movies with new people completely.
Yeah. I mean, it went on for a long time, and I got cast in many movies.
Okay.
That were subsequently done by other people.
Like which ones?
Many movies. Naach, Ek Hasina Thi.
The Saif's role.
Saif's role. And
Right.
he said, that's not working out. You come tomorrow morning. You're having a drink. I said, tomorrow morning? I said, okay, I couldn't sleep at night. I said, should I call whoever was doing the role or what? I said, I don't know. I didn't know them. So then early morning, I didn't sleep all night. Early morning, I get a call. He said, no, that worked out.
Okay.
So this stop, start, keep happening with Ramu.
Same with Naach?
Naach, and there were plethora of other movies, which, I'll be cast in the evening and get to know that
You've been dropped in the morning.
I won't be doing that the next day. So I was like the in-house go-to kind of a guy. But then Vishram Sawant, who I think is an exceptional talent, who's not making movies anymore for
He was a
various
production
reasons.
designer first, if I'm not mistaken. He designed Ramu's office.
Yeah,
And
he's the guy who did that. Yeah.
yeah, and Ramu liked the design of the office and to director ban ja.
No, he was also a very good photographer, and he had great out of the box ideas. So he took me for a photo shoot, and he was going to make another movie. He was very impressed by Satya Vishwa. So when Ramu saw those shots, he said, "Well, this is D. This is let's make kind of a prequel to Company, and let's do that." And that movie took 2 years to kind of make, and I don't know how long, maybe a year to shoot and make and all that. So all those things were happening in my life, and I had come from Rohtak via Delhi and Australia and all that, and my small town dream was to star in a movie in and as, and that happened in D.
Your first film.
End of story. What to do now? I didn't know what to do.
There's only one way to go.
There's only one way to go. So then I got a lot of advice about how you should keep doing similar roles and you should look the same and stuff like that, which I found rather boring proposition. So I went around, after that I did a movie called Risk. And then I started trying my hand at comedy. All those movies, well, I love them, but they never got the legs for a good distribution or promotion, which has been the case of many of my movies, because I have always chosen the script and the director over. I worked with 25 first-time directors.
Wow. 25, huh?
25 out of the 40 odd titles.
And because you like the script and you like your
I
role
like
in
the script, the role, and the person that was making it. And it often happened that those movies were released in a haphazard way, and they never really. There was not enough legs in terms of the number of screens or the promotion or awareness.
Right.
But I kept doing that for the longest time in my life. Yeah.
I mean, would it also be the fact that when you're working with a first-time director and you're likely to have greater control over the subject, you can do the way things the way you want to, as against someone who will dictate kaisa hi hota hai?
No. I have never I would never try to. So I don't know. You've watched a lot of my films because you're a critic. So
Let's say the sarcasm for later, huh, Randeep?
अभी करता हूँ मैं तेरे को ठीक करता हूँ. So let's talk about the critic bit then. So I used to do this play called Waiting for Godot.
Yes.
And in that, I used to play Lucky. First time I read the play with Naseer bhai and all that, I said, "Mera role kahan hai?" So बोले Lucky. Then I went back and I said, "Hey, ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है." But in that play, there was a very challenging part. I think one of the most challenging parts I've ever done. And in that, there was this thing where these two guys, they throw insults at each other. Sewer, rat, palana, dakda, ye, wo. And the last insult that one throws at them is a critic. And that's coming back from that, the guy dies.
Moving on, Randeep, moving on.
But what did we start talking about?
We were talking about, good question. Well, we just took a complete detour with critics, but there were films that you were doing, and the fact that
so the reason that I've been able to create the differences in my characterizations and the way to approach them is only been because I listen to the director. I'm probably not the control, but I'll be the best assistant director on all the films that I've done. I know the script inside out. I know the intention with which he's doing whatever scene. I know that this scene is going to be talked about in that scene. So I'm pretty much a screenplay actor. I'm not an actor who wants to, overwhelm you in every scene and stuff like that. So I've gone about it that way. And the reason that has happened is because I have listened to even the first timers or the experienced ones, because he's making the story, or he or she is making the story, and you're a part of that story. And I had that sense right from the beginning.
Right.
And so there's nothing like that. In fact, whatever talking or whatever inputs or suggestions or deductions that you want to do from the script, I always do beforehand. On a set, I've hardly ever had a conversation with a director.
Right.
Ever. I see it pointless because there's not enough time. The director's always running against the clock. And then the other thing is that unless something really strikes you like, what? But we never thought of this. I would never have a conversation with the director because that's already done and dusted.
Randeep, you spoke about the fact that you were a small town boy, Haryanvi Jat, started with Monsoon Wedding, which is also coincides with you doing Nasir's play at NCPA. This is a fabulous story. But I also figured that not too much is known about your early life, despite these things. I mean, your dad was a medical surgeon. Would that be correct to
Yeah,
say?
he is a surgeon.
And did he live in India? Was he living abroad?
No, he was in Rohtak, and from there he went to, I think, Kenya first, then Nigeria, then he went to Iraq, and then to Libya.
Wow.
As a doctor. So he was.
He started with Rohtak though.
Yeah, he started with Rohtak. He studied in Rohtak. He's from Rohtak, and he was in the Rohtak Medical College.
Did that kind of inspire Lal Rang in the sense of the subject and the fact that it's about
Lal
something to do
Rang,
with
I
a
mean,
medical
that's not
drama?
my father, but it's
The world that you sort of knew.
the world I knew, and my it was like my hat
Doffing of the hat.
doffing at Haryanvi culture, language, and the kind of rather humorous and cutting edge kind of language and culture that we have. So that's what inspired that, and then my role was inspired by my dear friend called Sandeep Punia.
Okay.
And so I've not done many Jat roles at all, actually.
That might be the only one. I mean, even in Jat, you're playing
Rana Tunga.
Sri Lanka.
That was the joke. When they came up to the movie's Jat, I was like, chalo yaar, finally. And then they said, you are playing Rana Tunga. I said, Rana Tunga kaun sa Jat naam hua? No, he's Sri Lankan. Like, Acha. So that was a bit of a thing because, if you're living in cities and all that, it's different. But when you are part of your culture back home and you're also very attached to them, and there is a certain sense of pride that you take in your roots. So it was a hard thing to kind of wrap my head around. But then ultimately I said, wow, I mean, whose Jad is Sunny Deol? I said, chal, fir to chalega. Aur kya? So that was the thing. And so I've always had the more difficult adjusting parts in movies than others have, because I've always tried to play against type and all that. And after all these years, to people being surprised by me doing that role, it's like, wow, I mean, I'm still surprising people. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Going back to your growing up years, Randeep, so your dad was traveling across, and I'm presuming you didn't travel with him.
I went to boarding school. I went to sports school Rai. When I was in class 4th. So
Motilal Nehru Sports School.
Motilal Nehru School of Sports, yeah. MNSS.
What's it like to be in a sports school?
Well, it's pretty much like the army, I guess.
Okay.
You get up at ungodly hour, woken up by whistles, and then you quickly freshen up and think there is attendance. You get a glass of milk, and then you're off.
Start playing?
And for 2 hours in the morning, then you come back, change and everything, get ready, go for prep, and then go for breakfast, then go for assembly, then school, then milk break, school, lunch, 3 hours off, again in the evening, 2 hours of sports, change, prep, dinner, lights out.
So when you say sports school, does it mean that everyone's being trained for an Olympic sport, or is that the direction that everyone's supposed to take?
It's actually a government-run institution. It's not doing so well now.
Okay.
But it was usually, like I was the maximum paying student, and I used to pay 3,000 rupees, including uniforms and books for the entire year. There were friends of mine who were paying 500 rupees a year. There were friends of mine who were paying nothing.
Depends on what you can afford.
No, depends on your parents' economic status. And to get into that school, you had to go through a written examination, then you had to go through a physical examination, then you had to go through medical examination, like if you've got flat feet, this, that, you can't get in. And then you go through an interview, much like the NDA, SSB.
Right.
So you go through all that and then you get in. And the whole school was spread over 200 odd acres, or maybe more, 400 acres. And there were only 750 students. And then I went to DPS Arkepuram, which was
Yes,
probably in
yes,
an acre,
yes.
and they had 9,000 students.
So, well, I have to do a quick shout out. Both of us went to the same school, that's DPS Arkepuram. And this shout out may not seem like much of a deal, but there are so many students that enough people would watch this and say, ha, hamara school ka baat kiya. Because literally, I was in section R. And, you know,
You're
from
in
A
arts.
to R. Yeah.
Humanities.
Eventually, I started with science, commerce, and then eventually I jumped streams until my 12th.
I wish I had done that. I wish I was in maths and bio. I'd taken both. And I didn't study much in that school at all because it was so depressing, like living in a pigeonhole. I used to stay in Arkepuram initially.
In the hostel?
No, Arkepuram,
In the area?
Sector 12.
Huh.
I was a day boarder.
Okay.
So I used to have my meals in the school and then we go out.
Live off campus.
Yeah, live off campus. And then class 12th, then I came into the hostel and I had a very tumultuous time.
Really?
Over there. Yeah. I did not get along with the warden. He was rather harsh on me. And then I was made to have my meals alone. So the whole school will have their meals and only then I will go alone
damn.
and eat for a whole
Why?
year.
What did you do?
I just lost my cool in a line.
On him?
Not him.
In general?
On other students.
Right.
And then on him also subsequently.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I mean, I had a very bad time in that school and I don't know how I passed class 12. I got a compartment in chemistry for which you probably lauded in cinema. And and I only studied for the last 25 days, I think, and I passed all subjects except for chemistry. And then I reappeared for it and passed that as well. And then I didn't know what to do. There was no colleges that you could really go to. I used to do a lot of theatre in schools ever since I was very young. And by class 9...
At the sports school?
Yeah, we had like open air theatres, we had big auditorium. Every Saturday used to be either a play, a debate, or a movie. And we used to only watch English movie once a year. Or Hindi movie once a year before the summer holidays. And that too, like Mirch Masala and stuff like that. So, and the whole time we'd watch all these big Hollywood movies and stuff like that.
Classics and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was, and we had a teacher called Alan Lewis, who was our English teacher, and he used to come in class and he used to throw away all the textbooks and he used to say, you have to read 30,000 pages in the whole year. And so you read a book, you go to his house after lunch, and you'll be lying, you stand there and he'll open the book from anywhere. He'll say, who said this? To whom? And then ask you another question. He'll keep looking at you, and then once you've done it, he'll look at the back, look at your face. Sometimes a 300 page book, he'll write 250. Or it's a 300 page book and he'll, like I said, 350. So like that, you have to read all through the year. Right. And he used to do these great plays. We used to have horses on, like Ned Kelly and, Wizard of Oz and all these like big ass productions. I got a Tin Man's role in what do you call it, Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And he threw me out because I was a distraction for the girls. Which I would take it as a compliment.
Isn't that a boys' school though?
No.
Oh, it's a co-education. Okay.
So I learned a lot from that play by climbing on a tree, overlooking the open air theatre, and just seeing what they did. And so that kind of, Eklavya kind of a thing got me more interested in it. And I directed in 9th and 10th, I directed plays, acted in them and did all that myself. There was this play called 37 Sous of Monsieur Martin, which I used to go to Delhi to the French embassy. There's a beautiful French girl who used to translate that in English for me. And I finally called it 37 Pence of Mr. Martin. And I directed that play and, acted in it. And I got a lot of accolade for it. So I was doing all that, and when I came to DPS,
that stopped.
Sports
because it does have a thriving theatre scene as well.
No, we came from Haryana. Although I was pretty good in English, but still there was a reservation coming from that closed environment school, and coming there, I felt a bit awed by these people. So I was never very comfortable with.
You had to break into the scene, but it was. You're already in 11th
I
standard.
could not break into the scene. I was already breaking people's jaws. So I could not be a part of it at all. So there I got really disheartened, and after that I went. I mean, we stayed in some time. We captured a room in Hansraj hostel for a while.
Okay, after school.
After school, and then there was a friend of mine who was there in Australia, and he says you can study here and you can work here. He was lying, and of course you see all these bikini-clad women in Adelaide watching the Test match, and I said that's the place to go. So I went there, and I was there for 6 years, and I did my degree. I almost finished my masters. But it didn't work out for me because I had a fight with my thesis was on hedonism, and the thing was that hedonism leads directly to people spending money, and my argument was that hedonism has to be guided and made into an image for people to then buy into that like it is. So that was the argument, and I finished my thesis in 35 pages. My argument was over. So they wanted some 350 pages.
Yeah, say the same thing in 350 pages.
I said,
right?
what the I said, no. I said, then I got kind of thrown out of that course.
And did you come down, come back and then get a regular job?
I didn't want to come back at all. I
Okay.
thought, because when I left in 94, Indian economy had not opened at that time, and there was a lot of restrictions, and here we are listening to Doors and Metallica and Pearl Jam and all these things, and Guns N' Roses and blah blah blah, and here you are, very little sections of things. There are no real concerts,
Right,
Yeah,
right.
like
Very closed economy,
young
yeah.
teenage
Yeah.
boy would be. So I felt very good there. But then I drove. Last 3 years, I drove cabs there, night shift, and I think that was my biggest education as an actor, because people get into your car and they forget you're there. So it's a very close human observation that you can have. And night shift, you meet the same person at 8, you meet the same person at 12, you meet the same person at 4. It's not the same person.
Depends on where you pick them up from.
Yeah, and what all has happened. So all those things, and I was a good cab driver. I knew which spots will be letting go of their, will be shutting down at what time. What time are the sailors' ships going to come? What times what's going to happen? So I used to have my fingers in all kinds of pies, and whatever you.
So why did you return? I mean, that was fun for you.
Well, my visa, and I actually overstayed my visa, and I went there and I said, I overstayed my visa, and they says, well, we're going to put you in, and I said, no, hey, hang on. And I had a good Aussie accent,
Oh yeah?
I had a country accent here, Haryanvi. I went there and I got a country accent there also.
That way, your switch is incredible. The way you go from a hardcore Haryanvi to a very anglicized version of Randeep Hooda, of course, works really well for you as an actor as well, right? It's not a handicap, at least for you,
No,
which I find with a lot of other
always
actors.
tried to have sound or voice or accent and stuff for me to feel more authentically fitted into that piece of puzzle that I'm part of. I've always stressed on that, and I think your voice and everything, these little things are the ones that really make a difference in how you are or who you are being. So that's what happened. Also, my father's family comes from a poor farmer's family, and my mother's family comes from. Her father was a St. Stephen gold medalist in economics at that time, and then he was a tehsildar, and he drank a bit too much, and he didn't become the deputy collector. But there was a different exposure there. So I come from this dichotomy of Jat families, which were like that. So yeah. That's
and then there is the Australian influence. I mean,
and there's a bunch of other influences. I've never tried to set myself as rigidly in life. I've never been rigid in life as such. So I've been able to, bend and, mold myself in different ways. And, when you even forget what you look like, really, after you've been pursuing a character for so long, and every time you see in the mirror it's that person instead of you, and then you start making differences. I mean, I went through a phase in life where I had lost all vanity, and I just did not know, and vanity for an actor, especially in our industry, is an important thing. But I've been through a lot of these things, and sometimes I feel it's not quite worth it. Sometimes I feel it's the best thing you've done. That's also kind of oscillating between your own opinion about
You know,
yourself.
I want to go back to your bits about Australia, Randeep. The first time I hung out with you, I don't know if you remember. This was in Chennai, really late in the night. I think you were visiting, you were with Nasir's play, and then I
We were
texted, and
doing the
then
play there, yeah.
yeah, and then we hung out. There was distinctly remember there was you and there was Amit Sial. Nobody had seen Amit Sial on screen before. I hadn't either.
No, no,
And he used to sing really well. And it was me, my brother, you, and Amit Sial. You lost your phone also that night. It's a long, long, long story. We went partying.
Oh, I don't remember those nights.
Yeah, they're not meant to be remembered, to be fair. But that's the first time I realized that you and Amit. Of course, now everyone knows Amit because of the films he's done. Kesari 2 just released, Raid 2 just released, Maharani. He considers you his best friend. He actually moved to Bombay because of you to a huge
Yeah,
extent.
because I had come here and I got a role in D, and me and him used to be cabbies and roommates in Australia. And
He was also a student there.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember.
Kanpur say he went to Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember while you're waiting for the fare in a casino line or some other office front, and I used to lie on the bonnet of my thing, smoke cigarettes, and say, "Ek din actor banenge." So I remembered that.
And he was also inclined similarly, or were you? did you
Yeah,
have an
he
influence
was
on him?
he was also inclined towards it. And then when I got a role in D, I called him here. And I said, आजा मैं दिलाता हूँ राम गोपाल वर्मा के यहाँ पिक्चर बन रही है डी डायरेक्ट तो वो नहीं कर रहा पर कोई बात नहीं आजा तो आजा तेरे को रोल दिलाता हूँ वो और वो he was running a small chicken kitchen something in Noida or something if I remember correctly. And I said बंद करके आजा मैं बस चल गया काम यहाँ पे. He came and the director, because I was rooting for him.
Right.
That's the reason he didn't take him.
Oh.
So there he was. So he used to live in my place and all that, and many places that we used to end up at the end of the night. Then one night I threw him out of the house at 2 a.m. because I looked at him and I said, look, if you stay here, you're going to be my shadow. And that's the worst thing I would want as a friend. It was very upset for me for many years, but I threw him out at 2 a.m. in the night. And I said, go find your destiny. And he did.
He did, yeah.
And he did. And yeah, we've been friends since then. And yeah, I always keep it.
So I'm guessing when I met you that year, I would think 2011 or perhaps 12, you were part of Nasir's play,
I think
Arms and the Man.
Arms and the Man.
In Chennai. And I'm guessing Amit was also part of the same play.
Amit was the hero of the play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was playing the chocolate soldier, and I used to play Sergius, the pretentious, funny guy.
And so this is that phase in your life, or I guess it's simultaneous, right? You're in films and theater for all those years. You're doing both.
Yeah, I was doing both. There was a point in time when Nasir Bhai himself said that go to movies and hang out with pretty chicks. And then I kept going back every now and then, like for Godot, like for Arms and the Man, when I felt that I had lost my way a little, or I really wanted to be on stage. But then slowly, like, standing in the wings, about to go on, I started feeling that, hey, I have to go through it again. And because over the years, then you started to really, make characters your own, and going through that organic feeling over and over again gets a bit tedious. And I didn't want to, just pretend to have that feeling on stage either. So that got a bit tedious, and other reasons and all that. Then I stopped doing plays. And yeah, that's how it.
So in that sense, and I think you've said this earlier, would you consider Nasir as sort of a person who opened your eyes to the world of acting? Would that be fair to say even
Yes.
now? Because you've also taken multiple directions since.
Yes, no, of course. I mean, first of all, he's the guy who showed confidence in me, because I remember I had gone with him to NSD, and there was this German director doing this play which I couldn't fathom. I don't know what they were doing. It's art. I said, art should be understood also, right? And then the director, so Nasir introduced me, and he said something to the effect of that good-looking people, they're only here for this, that,
That German director said.
yeah, and I took it like very offensive. And that's why that's another part of the reason why I started to change my, thing a lot and be more about the character than the vanity part of it and all that. So Nasir Bhai showed a lot of confidence and tenderness with me. in the beginning, and then of course now, and of course he gave me a lot of exposure, and the workshops that he did when Monsoon Wedding
That was the first one.
was the first one, and he said, you're very good, and all I was doing was doing commonsensical things. And so acting being common sense was one of the biggest doors that he opened up to me.
That's what he taught you.
Yes, and then subsequently how to be dogged about it, how to work at it, how to do this, and slowly then of course over the years, you find your own way out of it, and then at some stage your own ideas come in clash with your mentors, which is a natural process. Happens in every
that's growth
aspect.
Way,
it happens with your father also.
Yeah.
Right. So that's we went through a lot of those phases, and so he actually gave me the wings. So
it really started in that case with the workshops that Naseer would be doing for the actors of Monsoon Wedding.
Yes.
He did conduct them.
Yes.
How do you land Monsoon Wedding, Randeep?
Through an audition.
Okay. In Delhi?
In Delhi, I had a pretty bad accident. I was driving when I should not have been driving.
Okay.
And I kind of had a very bad accident. So I'd broken my elbow, my scalp, my thumb, my few places I was broken. And then I'd already done my photo shoot to come to Bombay, to come and struggle by Suvodas. And that accident happened, so I had to stay back there to recover. And I told my parents that I will not be a burden on you once I choose this field. That's the only thing they had, कि भाई बुढ़ापे में हमारे पर बोझ मत बनना. I said नहीं बनूंगा. तो वो मेरे दिमाग में बहुत था. तो इतने दिन रोहतक में मैं पढ़ा रहा था, हमारा वसंत कुंज में फ्लैट होता था. तो एक सुधीर मिश्रा नाम था शायद उनका. He was a photographer.
Okay.
So I was supposed to do a catalog shoot with him, and I went to him and I said, look, मेरा हाथ टूट गया है, बाकी मेकअप वेकअप कर लेंगे. I need the money, please. तो मैंने हाथ छुपा के उस पर कुछ ड्रेप करके फोटो शूट किया. And then I came back, and me and my mom were going to go back to Rohtak because my mom used to drive me because I couldn't drive. So I got a call saying that there is a woman called Mira Nair who would like to audition me, because I was doing a play before I had my accident. I was doing Rajdhani, the serial Rajdhani. Tigmanshu used to direct it.
Okay.
And Neha Dupia and all kinds of people were in it. So they wrote me out of that play, because out of that series, because it was one of the first series. Bobby Bedi was producing it.
For Doordarshan, I'm guessing? Or was it satellite by then?
I don't remember quite. This is 2000 or yeah. So they wrote me out of that very quickly, and then I was doing a play with Suneet Tandon, Guildenstern and something. There was a play. So I was doing readings for that. So they must have spoken to somebody in Mira's team, and so I got a call on the landline number. So I said, audition kab? I said, can you come this afternoon, evening or something? So I told my mom. My mom was already 3 flights down. We didn't have a lift in Vasant Kunj. Still don't. Right? So I told my mom, screaming, Mummy, audition hai. She said, Acha, main aa rahi hu wapas. So she came up and said, Abhi kabhi chalo. So I told my mom to park like 3 blocks away. I didn't want anybody to see them. My mom, come with my mom.
Mummy ke sath hai audition ke liye. Child actor.
So aap yahi pe raho. So my mom was very sweet, and she was waiting in the car the whole time. I went there. There's a whole line of people, and they gave me a thing to read, and I was like, Acha, everybody is so serious, ye, wo. I smoked a cigarette.
You obviously knew about Mira Nair.
Not really.
Okay.
Then I did that, and then I think I dozed off or something, and then they woke me up and they said, you're next. There was nobody there. I said, really? So I went inside. So there was this page, this script that they had written, and she was doing the other dialogues. There was a camera on, and I kind of lost where we are on the page. So I kept saying lines. So she said, where are you reading it from? I go, sorry, I forgot. I missed out. She said, no, that's good. Okay, you leave that aside and you sit on the couch with me and you flirt with me. That was it.
तो naturally होता ही
So
होगा.
no, then I went back home and I called up my father, and my father told me Mira Nair was Salam Bombay. I was like, oh damn, I messed it up. And then
like you didn't think you flirted with her well enough?
I don't.
You tried your best.
I didn't know that that's how you. I didn't know how to behave in an audition. You don't know. I mean, I'd never given an audition before. So the next day, she called me and she said, "Oh, will you do the honor of being in my movie?"
Oh,
this,
wow.
that. And I'm jumping up and down. Yeah. Oh. Later on in your career, you realize that when somebody says that, they're not going to pay you.
Exposure and exposure.
So there, I joined the cast and we tried to remove my thing. I've still got a crooked finger because I tried to remove it too quickly, my plaster.
But for the role.
For the role, but then she said your hand still looks weak, so just wear it and you do the part with it on. So that's how I got that movie.
Oh, wow. Incredible. And you not look back since in that sense. I mean, one thing leads to the other.
One thing leads to the other, and now sometimes I think that would I be able to do the same thing again? I don't think so, because it's always at the right time or whatever it is. But I always knew that I was going to do it. I always knew I was going to do it, and I was also clear. Like when I'd come initially to Bombay and I was doing rehearsals with Naseer bhai, and I did not know. I mean, my Urdu diction was not so great. So jute khala khila maar maar ke unhone karate thi wo. All those things, and then you used to watch yourself. You watch ETC channel aata tha. ETC देखते थे उसमें सब मैं झटका
अभी भी आता होगा हाँ
पता नहीं वो मैं कहा यार मैं कौन सी पिक्चर में फिट नहीं होता मैं करूंगा क्या मैं
Hey, you're a good-looking guy. You could certainly fit into a regular
But
mold
those
of
are
a
not
movie
the
star.
movies I was,
You wanted to do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
neither did I. I was a big fan of those because most of my 90s I spent in Australia. Before that, in school, we were always exposed to a certain kind of cinema. So I was a bit think about it, and I always felt that songs interrupted the narrative of a film. That, and then I saw a promo of Company. I said, I can be in this movie. That's all I thought. Sure enough, that whole cycle of
On its own,
Shimit
right.
Amin, ye wo got me to Ram Gopal Varma. So I think there is a something about what you really desire or wish for, and you visualize it or whatever.
What
I mean,
people now call manifestation. As it
yeah. Another thing that really helped me in my career was when I was a model in Delhi. There's a designer, very good designer called Sunit Verma.
Very well known, yeah.
Yeah. So I did a couple of shows for him and became friends, and he gave me this book called The Alchemist, which I didn't really understand at that time in the depth it was, but it did have that line which later Shah Rukh used in his movie, that if you really desire or want something, the whole universe conspires you to get it. And that line was something that played in my head a lot because there was nothing. I mean, हमारे दूर दूर तक हरियाणा में तो कोई एक्टर बनने जा रहा है, भांड बनने जा रहा है. It was such an uncool profession to be in. And apart from the fact that I always wanted to join the army and stuff like that, I've got a lot of schoolmates, classmates who are in the army and Air Force and all those things. And some of them are gone already in different wars and stuff like that. And in those MiGs and stuff. So that was the thing. And then that was also a very interesting anecdote. I was ready to go and anyway, let's leave it.
No. You mean you're planning to attempt NDA?
Yeah, no, I'd gotten it.
You got into NDA?
I was going to leave for that, and my father came to me and he said that, why do you want to go to the army? I said, well, all my friends are going. He said, why? So I took him down to the video room and showed him Top Gun. And so he saw it for 10-15 minutes and he said, well, band kar de isko. So then he sat for a while and he gave me the biggest lesson in movie making, which I didn't even realize till I became a director now. He says, beta, life mein piche music nahi bajta. I couldn't, I did that. I mean, Jesus, what was that? I didn't turn up. And then, stuff like that. So a lot of things happen in your life to get you where you are. And I'm telling you, I mean, as a person who's still wondering what to do in their lives and all that, I mean, just go with the flow, have a little thing about it. And seriously, if somebody was to tell me, do it all over again, I would probably fail.
No, I think one of the things that really strikes me as in the sense of your journey is how you remained creatively attached to your work. So whether you're doing, it's not like you're sitting and waiting for someone to give you work. You were throughout, you're doing stage, you were learning something new each time, and of course films followed. What do you think is the difference between theater and films as an artist, as an actor? Like, well, what do you like about one over the other?
Oh, sometimes, a lot of times, I feel when people ask me questions of this rather sweeping nature, is am I qualified to answer them?
As a practitioner, yes, because you've
Yes.
done both for multiple years.
So I would say that theater gives you very instant gratification, or the other way around. When it's not gone well.
Sannata.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't land, which is when you're trying to do something different from the last show, right? And the audiences are different all the time.
Right.
And there is a huge discipline in it, and which I've carried into films as well. In films, you do your film, somebody else, edits it and puts things onto it, blah, 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 and then you see it, or people see it much later, and by the time you moved on, it has no significance for you anymore. Also, theater, which I never did, a lot of people ignore the performance or the lines, inhabiting you all the way, right through to your eyes. And in films, it's more about the eyes more than anything else. And in theater, it's you can
The entire you, because everyone can see the whole of you.
no, even in films, it's the entire you. But a lot of theater actors, why I feel sometimes I see them, they're so good on stage, but not so effective in cinema, is because they've gotten used to getting away with a lot of things which a camera upon close examination can catch. Both are the same. I don't think there is any... a lot of people feel that in theater you project more or anything. It's not that. You just have to be audible. And so I find them, they're pretty much the same. It's just the gratification part and also the repetition part, which is more in theater.
Like, they say when someone's being over the top in a movie, say, बहुत theatrical बन रहा है. And in on stage, when someone is overdoing something, they say, बहुत filmy लग रहा है. Like, both are pejorative.
I think they're both, acting in both mediums is the same in terms of what you have to do. You have to try and reach the truth for you first.
Yeah.
And that is what it is. And though you can get the luxury of takes in a movie scenario, but still the closer examination of your truth truth is harsher in cinema. Both are very rewarding and very thing. And
so when we say a stage, and I mean professionally, not during school and stuff, did you only work with Naseer?
In professional theatre, yes, yes.
But
I
with
did
his
not have any desire to do anything else. And I to tell you the truth, I always like the rehearsals more than the performance, because there is where you can really...
You're learning.
Yeah, I like that part more. Like now, I love writing the most. Writing for me is the best part of any creative process.
Really?
Yeah, and that's what I'm discovering as I go along. I've been writing short stories also about Warsaw, like about Nishi, WTF, Aram Nagar, the Bansuri Wala that comes on Sundays, the struggling actor, the casting couch, and other stuff. I've been writing those short stories, much like, I used to do on stage, the Manto Ismat stories. I'd write in Hindi. I actually started writing them because I wanted to get the handwriting of Mr. Savarkar right. I thought that since he was a writer, I thought that'd be one of my starting points. So I got a fountain pen and started writing these stories and trying to copy his handwriting. And then I started writing, and
now you write longhand or on the computer?
I write longhand or whatever. I don't know, shorthand. I write.
No, as in, like, do you write with the?
I write with my hand.
Do you type or do you use pen? You use pen, huh?
I write.
Oh wow!
I write.
Would it be true that the first time you wrote, in the sense of professionally, would be A Walk in the Woods?
I adapted
The
it
Naseer
from
thing, adapted?
Lee Blessing's thing, and I had actually done it for myself. Me and Faisal, there's another actor, Faisal, who used to be in our troupe. I don't know whether he's doing any roles or not. A Kashmiri guy, very sweet. He was part of the class that I used to teach in FTI. So
You taught at FTI.
yeah, Nasir Bhai used to, once Nasir Bhai left me there, and with people, some of them were older than me, and just I said, okay, he's good, yeah, and
You do the workshop.
yeah, I did it for 10, 15 days, few times over. And yeah, so I wrote it for myself and Faisal, and then one day Nasir Bhai called for it, and I found out that he's doing it. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
There was Naseer, I think Rajat Kapoor.
Rajat Kapoor. So
Right.
I said, okay, let me direct it. I said, I'll do the Rajat's role. But I guess he had his own ideas about it, which he's entitled to have.
Right.
Yes, that was my first attempt at it. And then I wrote a couple of screenplays of other two stories that attempted to write those screenplays. Because I always told Nasir Bhai, his classes or his workshops, which I myself have imbibed and then, guided other people through, I always felt that they were not entirely for actors. They were for all aspects of a theater or a movie production, whether it is writers, directors, set designers, or costume people, because it all originated from the where, who, why, and all that stuff. So keeping that in mind, I did this. I wrote those things, but I didn't buy the rights and stuff like that, so I got swindled out of them.
Oh, so basically you wrote a story in the sense of perhaps a biopic, and you couldn't get the rights of the...
because everything was fine, honky-dory, and then it did not materialize because...
Do you want to talk about who?
No.
Okay, that's fair.
It was diligent. I was not diligent with my paperwork.
Okay.
So, and then when Savarkar happened, there was a sketchy script in place, and I tried to, the one thing that I did not like about it was that it started and beginning, middle, and end were about Mahatma Gandhi. And I said, Savarkar would be turning around in his grave.
Yeah, because he doesn't even appear in Gandhi the film.
Yeah. So that was my rouse, and then things happened, and then whoever was involved was not very interested quite to make it the way it was. And I also did not know about Mr. Savarkar at all, except for what we hear in public discourse about all the bad things that are attributed to him. And then by then I was doing shooting Cat at that time. I was shooting Cat and
the series on Netflix.
Sergeant and all that. And I started reading it after work. I'll sit down and I'll read it. And I found so much. I said, why does one even know about it? Even I don't know about it. So by the time I read some 30, 40 books on all sides, this side, that side, and history I found was a bit of a joke. It depends on who's telling it, at what time. It was so debatable, all of it. Facts, So I did that. So that was the screenplay that I found.
So that was the first complete screenplay that you wrote?
Complete screenplay with Utkarsh Naithani that I did with the thing. And at that time, I was not even going to direct it. And then things happened in a way that I got the baton of direction. And I said, okay, let's bring it on.
So, I mean, as a director, this is obviously your first film, but as an actor, you actually worked with some of the best directors there are in this country, right? I mean, right now you're shooting with Vishal Bharadwaj, and you've done, of course, we spoke about Mira, Nair, Ram Gopal Varma, Imtiaz Ali, Deepa Mehta, Karan Johar. I mean, one doesn't talk about that's the most unlikely film that he's ever made in his career, right? With you?
Yeah, and that was, I think it's one of his best movies, and where I play a closet gay guy. Yeah. So yeah, I learned from everybody.
What did you like? Is there any director who's really like sort of, because you work closely with them, sort of there's something you've learned from them that you've sort of just remembered, stayed with you?
I'm not really interested. I was never really interested in their work.
Okay.
I was interested in my
your
part.
Work. Yeah.
I have, on a set, I don't have any time to indulge in any other actor's work or the director. I got my blinkers on. And what I did what did happen to me in the first few days, that sometimes I was Mira, sweetheart, sometimes I was Imtiaz, but and sometimes I'm like other people, and then
Like Ramu,
and
rolling your eyes.
other kinds of people, and then finally I found to get the work done, I had to become Vishram Sawant. So because being a first time director, first 4 hours on the set, everybody was trying to make their own damn movie till you said, this is not my movie. And then they said, okay, fine.
Right.
There's no democracy here.
Right.
This is what I want. You want to give me that? Great. Otherwise you can go home. So that's what it came down to. And funny thing. So in behavior toward dealing with people on set was what I was trying to copy other people, other directors. But finally it had to come down to Vishram, because I had a very huge task, not enough money to make it. And I was also in quite bad shape physically and mentally because of extreme weight loss. I was 60 kilos for a year and a half.
That's nuts.
And I still have problems in my joints and stuff like that, which I'm trying to overcome. But it's hard. So in that process, you become hangry. You're hungry, and your patience is so thinned out. So that's how, under a very duress, that I made that movie.
Would it have been much better if you hadn't directed it and stuck to your part, because that's hard enough to begin with? Just the physical aspects of it, forget about anything else?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because there is a certain way you wanted to make it.
I'm not sure. Yes, because now I have started to now come to a stage where I want to own my stories. An actor is also a storyteller.
Yeah.
And now it has just gone beyond. It's not that I'm going to stop acting. I love acting, and I find it very cushy job.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. In spite of what I put myself through for every role, it's still a very easier job compared to being a director. As I've said earlier, that I was a individual tennis player. To be in my locker room, go out there, play my shot, come back. Now, I was made the captain of the football team.
Right. Team sport.
But you have to make everybody play individual tennis. So that was hard. And also, being a director is I was actually, funnily enough, I've never been sure as an actor in my life.
Okay.
I've never been sure that this is it. I've never planned it. I've never planned a shot that this is how I'm going to do it. I've used, over the years, practice more and more. And sometimes even if it doesn't happen, I don't pretend to do it. You not planned it, because life, you don't know what's going to happen.
It's instinct.
Instinct.
Right.
Not instinct, man. You worked on it.
You worked on it, and then on that moment is
you
instinct.
know all the aspects of where you are, what's happened before, what's going to happen after, what's the story about. You know everything. But you don't plan how you're going to do it. So I'd always leave myself open. But as a director, I was cocksure of exactly what I wanted. From everything. Every shot, every performance, everything. I was so sure that it was a very strange thing to me, because as an artist, you're always like, I don't know. But no, you have to be sure, because you...
Right, that many people looking at you. Right, depending on you.
So that was a huge difference that I found becoming a director. And it is, in my opinion, not at all a democracy.
Well, I think democracy is also a bit of a mirage, because, like, say, most people live under dictatorships. Every office is a dictatorship. Every office has a boss, and you have to listen to that person, etc., etc.
Filmmaking is one of the most legitimate dictatorships left. Somebody else said it.
The one we don't mind.
Somebody else said it. It's not my line.
But there is the dictatorship, which is the legit part of it, as you mentioned, which is of course the director, and there has to be a unity of vision. The other side of it, and this is the part which is very different from most other fields, is show business. एक तो theatre हो गया, एक film हो गई, acting हो गया. That's all that is different. Show business is a beast of its own, right? Randeep, I mean, how do you navigate that? Because that is it's a star system.
I have never been very good at it. Really.
Okay.
I've never been good at it. For the longest time, I felt that one should not know you beyond the screen. Taking the leaf from all the legendary actors that one liked. Even Bachchan Saab, I did not speak to press for 10 years.
Yeah,
and
yeah, those were the best years of his life professionally.
So there was I did have this feeling that, hey, people should not know much about you outside your screen, but that is no longer possible. It is just not possible.
Right.
I mean, in this fleeting, real culture, it's just not a possibility. So I have opened myself to that, and show business part of it, of getting ready, turning up places, being a junior artist in a TV show called Awards and stuff like that. It's very tough, and I still find it very tough. And it's something which I have not been. I would not ask anybody to take the leaf out of my life for that. I'm not good at it, though.
But you've been very close to people who've been very good at it. For instance, I'll give you an example. Say Salman Khan, right? I mean, you've done 3 films, if I'm not mistaken. Kick,
Three.
Radhe, Sultan. Apparently, you're also good friends. What do you make of him? Like a stardom of that many years. Clearly knows how to play show business, right? Now?
Yeah, he's very intelligent. He's very creative, and I think a bit isolated also now. But yeah, he gave me a lot of advice.
Like what?
Lot
What
of
would you have learned from Salman Khan, for instance?
how to be a nice person, to be nice to people and be helpful and all that. That's something. He's given me a lot of advice over the years, which I have not followed. so so I am, but he gives it to you in all his earnestness and wants the best for you. And I've been, so you have to keep it aside, and then you have to see what is it you really are comfortable with. Can you live with that day in, day out? No, you cannot. So why pretend to do so? So
It comes naturally to him, I'm presuming.
it comes naturally to him. It doesn't come naturally to me.
Yeah.
So it will be, a wrong thing to follow. But I still try, and now, because I have more responsibility, I have my own production house, I'm going to be directing more movies and all that. All of a sudden, I am looking at cinema in a different way. Earlier on, it was just one artist isolated from everything and goes and gets, makes his own world around himself for that part and lives in that. And then once that's over, just goes on and,
Which you can still do. I mean, you would say Jat would be a film like that, right? You will really concentrate on your role and go out and do the best you can.
Yeah, which I will be doing more and more in the future. I mean, it's not that I'm going to give up acting. That's my first love.
Yeah.
But then there are stories that you want to tell, and instead of being a wicket keeper in the business where you're just waiting to get a snick of a bat, and if you do have the ability to bowl as well, and then smack it out of the park when you can, so that's the kind of all-rounder that I am now realizing that I can also be. But I'll always be
the actor.
Yeah,
the actor who is opposite Salman, the actor who is opposite Sunny Deol. I actually want to know, because you've done action with both these guys, how are they different as action stars on when you're shooting with them? Say a Sunny Deol. These guys have been action stars for many years now.
Yeah, but the action is designed around them.
Yeah.
It's not that. I mean, action, and they're both great. I mean, it's just that when you see them, you feel like they can do what they're doing. And over the years, and both the actors that you name,
Salman and Sunny,
are stars before the advent of internet.
Yeah.
Those are the stars which, you went to see them, you had to see Chitrahar or a filmy Kaliyan ka central spread poster which you'd stick with toothpaste in your almiras.
You did that?
Yeah.
Who's? I'm guessing
Sunny's, yeah. They were rare commodities, and now it's different. Now every star's on, what they're eating, what they're doing, it's all available on the social media. So they have their persona, and that's what I was trying to kind of aim for. It's believable what they do, and now that the stage of life that they are, everything is designed for them.
Right.
It's not that they design something and if you can put them in it. That doesn't happen. It's designed for them. And on the other hand, I worked with a Chris Hemsworth,
Extraction,
or a John Cena or somebody. Though they have a different approach.
So how's it different?
Difference is that they all come and rehearse for weeks and weeks before they do it. Me and Chris were rehearsing for, I think, 6 weeks before we did
Oh wow, those
Extraction.
action sequences, those
Yeah,
are
yeah.
crazy action sequences.
And it looks real,
Very
and
real,
it's
yeah.
it's like, you know, so that happens with rehearsal, like in theater. So that's the way they do it, and they are not as worshipped as our Indian action stars are, and that's what probably somewhere keeps it more real in that sense. But action is a genre. I mean, when I went for Extraction, I think it was Extraction, and I had this kind of an action image, everybody around me. I mean, and then I realized I've never punched anybody in a movie.
Oh really?
That was 2019. So 19 years, I had this tough guy image in various roles, but I never punched anybody in a movie.
You had to learn that.
I had to learn that. How to take a punch, how to give a punch. It's much like dance. That's how they prepare for it. It's dance. They keep it slow. Yeah. So this, man, I mean, you've done a lot, and then you feel sometimes you wake up in the morning and it's like, shit, I've not done anything in my life.
But you know, you have done a lot in your life in terms of the characters you picked, and regardless of those films, I mean, it's very easy to see that you made that big effort. Does it happen, and this could be with everyone, it's not just hard work, sometimes also the direction you take. Does it happen to you that you really put in everything, but the direction was wrong in a sense? That's not how you wanted the, because it's not an actor's medium. Have you been disappointed with that at any point? Where कि सब कुछ तो डाल दिया है, but ये picture में मजा नहीं आया, because there's only that much you can do as a tennis player in a team sport.
No.
Never happened to you.
Never.
You've been happy with everything that you made.
Not happy, but you know, it's not about, it's much like judgment
Okay.
or critique.
Yeah.
Criticism, rather. Critique is a foreign word in our media. It's about what is the intention that this particular director or storyteller is trying to do.
Yeah.
So that intention comes through in whatever is done. The choices that they have made subsequent, I mean, apart from your performance and all that, that's also within that intention.
So it's consistent.
It's consistent. It's never gone south. Right? There has been one movie which I did with a whole different kind of intention. The director had a different intention, but when the studio, they came on board. It's a movie about a guy in UK, born and brought up there. And they, when we shot the movie, they came back here and they says, "Iski Hindi karo." मैं कहा पहले क्यों नहीं बोला भाई? और वो हिंदी भी कैसे करो कि वो अंग्रेजी का डायलॉग मेरा चल रहा है तो दूसरे का शॉर्ट काट के मेरी हिंदी की डबिंग करा के वापस. So that movie only became something else.
Right.
So that was a bastardization which I could not stand. I never saw that movie, of course. But apart from that, there's an intention behind it. Like even when you do your critiques, like for example, when you did the critique of my movie, which I reluctantly read, well, I've switched off everything. I said, this is the movie I wanted to make. I don't want to hear anybody opinion.
Absolutely.
Because opinions and everybody has.
Thank you very much.
Even I have. So when I read your critique about it, and you have got a very unique way of going about your criticism, where you go and on another rant and then you come to the point of the movie, probably in the last couple of paragraphs, like that. So when I read your review, which I think you're a very intelligent reviewer.
Thank you.
When I read your review, it was more about a history class or a political point of view. And I remember some line you written that if there was an award given for propaganda films,
Filmfare Award, yeah, they should win for sure.
For propaganda films, this will be it. So I was reading it. I said, how is it a propaganda film versus that other film, which is about something or the other, but is not a propaganda film? So that was your political leanings and your point of view that you poured into your review, and the actual art of making the film, or whether it is any aspect of the filmmaking process, is secondary.
But it was there. There is enough commentary in it about. I was quite moved by the way you've done this film. The shadow play. It's quite.
I try to make it as cinematic and as engaging as possible, in spite of its length. But then a lot of people just labeled it as a propaganda film, and I have a simple question to ask. Who loses 30 kilos, sells his house to make a propaganda film?
Okay, here's the thing, Randeep, if you may allow me to give my side.
Sure.
I don't think propaganda film is a pejorative. I don't think it's an insult. A propaganda film by itself, it is a political film with a certain ideology in mind that you wish the audiences to know more of. So I don't mean it as such a bad thing.
Yeah,
And
no, I actually didn't even take it so bad.
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
just saying from point of views. So I have now stopped judging people's work.
Sure.
What I am seeing when I see, I don't even judge him as good or bad. You know, if it interests me, I'll watch it. And when I watch it for the intention that probably the filmmaker had towards making it, or the actor had towards that. And for me, that is the scale of whether they have achieved that part or not. Not if I feel it's good or bad anymore.
Sure.
In any work of art, I've stopped, that judgment is gone because, hey, everybody's trying to do their best. Who wants to go there and say, I want to make a shit film? Nobody does.
Yeah.
So everybody has an intention. Some people are looking from an intention of an audience, that this is the audience I want to cater to.
Yeah.
Some people are looking from the intention of the idea they want to put through. So, but all of them, what I've started doing now is I get the intention behind it and I see if that intention is worked out or not, or whether I like it or not is enough.
And it's hard for you to be subjective when you're right in the middle of it also, right, Randeep? Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I don't think that many people in the films would get so attached to a film or a character as perhaps you did with Sarbjit. I mean, I read somewhere, did I watch you in an interview, where literally Sarbjit's sister, the Antim Sanskar of the sister was done by you.
Yeah.
That's an insane
By the way,
amount.
his daughter has just had a baby girl this
Oh,
morning.
wow.
They sent me a picture.
Wow.
His younger daughter has had a baby girl.
But it's also a bandwidth issue, right? I mean, you are an actor, you will do this film, of course, you'll give it your all, but you'll also move on to the next film. But you don't have to be that attached to a role where you're literally doing Antim Sanskar of...
It was a great opportunity for me to be a part of their family in that sense. And I'm very grateful for that. But that is how I have approached all my work. Whether I was doing a Raja Ravi Varma, or whether I was doing a Charles Sobhraj, or whether I'm doing Inspector Avinash. He's one of my bestest friends. And many such parts that I have been a part of in the past. It is an immersive experience. And when you say that you lose your perspective when you're in the thick of things, that is just not possible. To lose perspective, it's not possible. You are in the middle of it, and you've got an intention of making a film, and you make it the truest to what you believe. As soon as where you lose perspective is as soon as you start doing it for the person who is going to watch it. So that is where, even as a performer, I mean, thank the Lord, I've not got many bad reviews in my life at all.
No, not at all.
Any movie that I have done. And it's not that I have not lost perspective. I am true to what I am doing. And I'm trying to get the truth of every shot, every moment, and being in it. And I'm not trying to show off as an actor. I don't think I've ever showed off as an actor. And I think that's my biggest thing. So it's not that you lose perspective. No.
No, what I meant was that you cannot be subjective because you are really in it. You can't have that bird's eye view of something because you're inside it.
Well, bird's eye view is the one when you have you writing it. And then it's just part of it. And I found myself that I was not an executor of a film.
Yeah.
I was making it as I go along. Every morning I'll get up, I'll go through the scene, this, that, here, what's happened. I've changed some dialogue there, I'll make them dialogue here. So it was I didn't sleep for you. I wasn't sleeping pills. I've just tried to get off them.
You mean during the making of Savarkar?
Because I was hungry, you can't sleep, empty stomach too much, and because of the whole thing, it took me a long time.
It takes a toll on you, right?
It was a very traumatic experience, and not just the making of it was still okay, it's work or whatever. It's the other part, there was a court case, there was my producing partners were not signing on the studio contract. I wanted to release this movie on 15th August, then in November, then in January, and it finally released on 23rd of March, which happened to be in the code of conduct in the election. And I was like, what? The censor won't pass my movie. I had to go there with books and books and books and, this is what I've written. Bhagat Singh never met. I said, Bhagat Singh jail diary. There are like 6 poems of Savarkar in his jail diary. I said, Bhagat Singh didn't like Savarkar. Here it is. So
but they never met. I think and the question was that, right? The fact that
it was never recorded that they met.
Right.
It was never recorded that they met. a lot of things didn't happen the way they were. And
Hmm.
then it came to the point of, you know, many things. Let's not talk about Savarkar.
Sure,
I think
sure.
I have moved on from that.
You have moved on from that, and you have gone and
Done Jat.
no, done Jat nahi, but more. I'm now interested in your personal life. You know, you've really moved on from singledom as well.
Yeah.
I've known you for some time. I did not think you will get married. And I mean it as a compliment only, by the way.
Yeah. I also didn't think I was going to get married at all. And I think it's very wise now that if you want to get married younger. But it so happens, man. Life happens, and you know, Lynn is a wonderful girl.
How did you guys meet?
We first met in Motley, actually.
Oh, really?
Doing Arms and the Man.
Okay.
And,
was she in Chennai the same night we hung out? Probably
No.
Okay.
And she had just come back from New York and want Nasir Bhai, and she met him, and she started helping around the entire thing. So
was she an actor or was she part of the crew?
She's an actor.
Okay.
She was part of the crew there.
Right.
Yeah, and then we kept meeting over the years, and finally, when the lockdown happened, we happened to be holed up together, and that's what led to all this. But yes, it was a big thing, and then there was a big thing. Hey, Jat ladki se shaadi nahi kar rahe.
What kind of stereotype is that?
But yeah, that's what our people are. You know, they are very thing about it. So yeah, and my marriage itself was a big drama in that sense that there's problem going on in Manipur,
right?
And we were thinking, you know, get married, and then I was like, hey, I mean, I said I cannot be. This won't be a marriage unless we do it. You know, ladki ke ghar jaake shaadi nahi ki to kya shaadi hui? So then I had a friend, Brigadier Sangwan, who was there with Assam Rifles. He was the CEO of one of the places there. So he was there, and I called him, and he said, "Aaya, main kara dunga shaadi." So we went there, 10, 12 people, and you know, we'd never been to. I've been to Northeast once in Arunachal Pradesh. I've gone there with the CM there and stuff like that, to the borders. And there we were, 10, 12 of us. We didn't know anything about their ceremonies, or she tried to show me videos of it, but I was busy editing Savarkar. So I said, yeah, no, I watched it. I watched the video. Hey, yaar, what a ceremony. And I never watched it. And we went there, and first thing went to her house, and there's 2, 3 friends of mine, and they had this lunch spread, and it was like all vegetarian.
I wouldn't imagine that in Manipur for some reason.
Yeah, very vegetarians. What do you call it? Sattvic food or what?
Okay.
No.
Pure vegetarian.
Vaishnav
food.
So
okay.
Maitis are Vaishnav.
Ah.
A lot of Maitis are Vaishnav. And before that, we went to their old gods, their polo god, you know. And I'm a polo. I play
they have
polo
a polo god.
They've got a pole horse
wow.
god, polo god. So there I was with a small statue of a horse and a small polo stick and a ball in a dhoti, climbing up all these steps to go up there. And Ibido Margin is called. So we said, now there's tribal god and there's a Hindu god. So I said, let's do the entire thing. So my friends were saying, ki bhai shaadi mein laya tirth yatra pe So we went there, and then because of the security reasons, we stayed at the army camp and all that. And then it came to the ceremony, and then it was amazing that I have a helper with me.
Okay.
He's an actor, he's a very nice guy. So there's a helper with the groom. So once you put your thing on,
it's like a best man kind of thing. Okay.
But more than best man, a tutor.
Okay.
So once you have that on, right? So you cannot tilt your head, this, that, and you go to the ceremony, and you know, they give you a bowl, an umbrella, and a couple of other things I'm forgetting. And once you go there, they put you in the holding area where everybody comes and looks at you, and you're supposed to be very dignified. Right? And once you're in the mandap, which has got all these mridang players somersaulting and all these pandits chanting and all that, and once you go there, you're not supposed to move. They wrap a chaddar around you. You can't even do this. So he's there, and am I itchy? I'll say, scratch my ear. So he'll scratch my ear. And then if I sit like this, he'll go, you have to look the best. You're God today.
Oh.
So that was the experience. For 2 hours, I was like that. And I asked him, what's the bowl for? He said, in case you need to pee.
Oh, shit.
And that's what you open the umbrella. You just pee over there. You cannot move out of there because you're God. And then when she comes, the whole place was looking at her. I can't even look at her like that. And she came, and she also had a tutor who'd be in front of her going, and she got so much scolding. Being a Manipuri, and she was smiling, you're not supposed to smile. So messengers will come, stop smiling, you know. And then my mother was sitting right outside the mandap in front of me. And that's where the mother is supposed to sit. And my mother was crying, my mother was laughing. I was like, Kismat ko ro rahi hai, ye has rahi hai, samajh mein nahi aa raha. But they were so taken in, and it was so, I mean, the culture, Haryanvi culture and their culture, though both produce great boxers and sportsmen, it's totally different. You know, ours is so rough and crass, and you know, and theirs is so systematic,
elegant,
and and it's very good. So that was the thing. And she was wearing so much gold and all that. I was like, chalo, ek picture to yahi ban gayi.
But you know, the thing, I'm just thinking about it, like, you know,
her brother said at the end of the ceremony, we had a little dinner, and he says कि ये जाट लोग ही आके यहाँ पे इस माहौल में ये जाट लोग ही आके यहाँ शादी कर सकते हैं.
Yeah, in the middle of what could possibly be a civil war, yeah. You know?
It was a civil war, and as soon as our fairas finished, we could hear hundreds of AK-47 going. So I was like, yeah, man, getting married, and you know, yeah, it was something. So that was the marriage.
You could have waited, yeah, Randeep. I mean, what was the hurry? I mean, or you guys could have just lived in together. I mean,
we were living in together already for many 4-5 years, and yeah, why should we wait? And it did bring a lot of cheer to the place.
Right.
It's not just that we did that. We went to all the relief camps. I said we have to go, and so we helped out there, and you know, it brought some cheer to the place for sure.
What do you think of marriage as an institution, especially given that you decided to marry at a certain?
I'm very new to it, bro.
Yeah, but were you neutral about it earlier in life, or was there something that you thought, what's the point, and what purpose does it serve?
See, you can live in and do all that all your life. It's not really family. You know, it's in a marriage. It's not two people that get married. It's two families, two cultures. In my case, it's two families that get married. A family expands. It's not the same as having a girlfriend or living in together. It is a different thing, and it is a public responsibility that you take off each other. And I mean, I'm not saying whether you should or shouldn't. But we should not just, take it lightly.
Right, right. I'm coming to the last question. This conversation, Randeep. It's a bizarre one because I came across this a long time ago, and there used to be a film critic called Gene Siskel, and he had this thing about every time he ended a conversation with someone, he would ask, "What is it that you know?" And it's something that he asked Oprah Winfrey once. And she was so taken in by that question that she wrote a book called What Is It That I Know? And roughly what it means is कि दुनिया में कुछ भी बदल जाए. आपकी फिल्में चली ना चली, आप फिल्म बनाएं या ना बनाएं, whatever happens in life, whether you're married, you're not married, whatever. Is there something that you know will never ever change? What is it that you know? कि ये तो पता ही है मुझे about your life.
I'll always be bullheaded about something or the other. Whatever I do.
I'm getting some serious Rana Tunga vibes right now. Very padri hai. I'll be bullheaded looking at me. But
there is a Rana Tunga in all of us.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. So there's something, I'll always be obsessive is a better way to put it. Not bullheaded. Bullheaded hai tabhi to yahan pe hai. But obsessive. I love to immerse myself in whatever it is, whether I'm acting or whether I'm making my house or growing some trees or
horse riding
or cleaning up the beaches or whatever it is. I'm a bit obsessive about myself, about things, and the total immersion into one thing and forgetting everything else, which leads to a lot of issues in your real life. Because then you ignore a lot of things and then they come and hit
social
you.
Life,
yeah,
particular.
Social life, family life, or whatever. So that obsessiveness is something that I know that I have. It'll never change, regardless of what I do.
Well, as a movie buff, I can tell you that immersion, that obsession has really led to some great work.
Thank
so
you,
so
brother.
continue doing that, Randeep. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Yay.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.